Just 1 year after our marriage, my husband brought Lin Manru before me, declaring his intent to take her as a concubine. Naturally, I refused. Lin Manru, arrogant and presumptuous, relied on my husband's affection for her to challenge me. The entire Marquis' residence descended into chaos. I lost my child and my ability to bear children. Lin Manru lost her life. My reputation was utterly ruined. Rumors spread throughout the entire capital. The mistress of the Annan Marquis' residence was foolish, jealous, and venomous as a scorpion. My parents, to protect the Duke's family name, relented and permitted my husband to take a secondary wife. He married his cousin. Only later did I learn that my husband had always loved his cousin. Both Lin Manru and I were merely stepping stones. I was confined to the estate, living in misery for 30 years. Then, I was reborn. During those 30 years of confinement, I pondered constantly. As the eldest legitimate daughter of the Duke's household, marrying the young Marquis of the Annan Marquis was considered a downgrade. By all rights, I should have had everything I desired. Why, then, did I end up in this wretched state? My husband, Zhao Shizhai, had a new wife. They lived in perfect harmony, day after day, likely having forgotten my very face and voice. After my parents consented to Zhao Shizhai taking a secondary wife, they ceased caring about my fate. They even adopted that secondary wife as their daughter, as if I had never been born. My child was only 5 months old, just learning to kick my belly, when he left me in a pool of blood. In less than 2 years after marrying into the Annan Marquis' household, I transformed from the graceful and refined eldest daughter of the Duke's mansion, praised by all, into the laughingstock of every household's gossip. Was this truly my fate? I endured 30 years of agony, dying with bitter resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Lin Manru, the woman who had once fought me tooth and nail. Young and beautiful, she wore a fashionable floral-patterned qipao. Standing behind my husband, her gaze toward me was outwardly respectful, but the upturned corners of her mouth betrayed the smug satisfaction of a villain. A wave of disorientation washed over me as I realized I had been reborn. Zhao Shizhai spoke to me as he had in my previous life. "Oh, Manru has given herself to me. I wish neither to betray her nor deceive you. I come to discuss whether we might take her as a concubine. You would then have company in the inner quarters." In my previous life, I was enraged. Right in front of Zhao Shizhai, I slapped Lin Manru across the face and demanded she be expelled from the Marquis. Lin Manru was an orphan. Her father had sacrificed his life to save the old Marquis. Out of gratitude for her father's sacrifice, the Annan Marquis had taken her in to raise her. Expelling her would not only leave Lin Manru homeless but also invite accusations that the Annan Marquis was ungrateful. Thus, in my previous life, I failed to drive Lin Manru out as I wished and instead faced my mother-in-law's reproach. The open and covert rivalry between Lin Manru and me began with that single slap. Very well. I smiled and addressed them both. Actually, that was my intention. Manru is no longer young, and keeping her in the Marquis indefinitely invites gossip. Her father is our benefactor, even if she becomes a concubine. She deserves proper respect. Let the accounts office prepare the silver notes. Our Marquis shall host a splendid little celebration. Lin Manru's eyes lit up. "Madam, are you not angry? Having married my husband, I naturally place him first. If he wishes to honor you, would my anger not be slapping him in the face?" I replied solemnly. As the legitimate daughter raised in the Duke's household, I possess this much magnanimity. Turning to Zhao Shizhai, I smiled. "Shizhai, today's matter must remain a one-time occurrence. Frequent concubine taking would lead outsiders to believe you're obsessed with women. Should censors submit a memorial, His Majesty might diminish his favor toward you. Moreover, it would tarnish my maternal family's reputation. I'd have no way to explain it then." Zhao Shizhai never imagined I would agree so readily to the idea of taking a concubine. He showed no trace of joy, only a flicker of regret in his eyes. He was certain I possessed the haughty pride of a noble lady, unwilling to share her husband with another so soon after our wedding. Since Lin Manru wasn't one to be easily dealt with either, he brought her before me to demand recognition. He deliberately set me up to clash with Lin Manru. How unfortunate that in my past life, anger clouded my judgment, and I failed to see through it. Now, I readily agreed to his request. For a moment, he seemed at a loss for how to continue the charade. "Oh, are you truly willing?" Zhao Shizhai asked me. I rose, took Lin Manru's hand, and said, "Why wait for a better day? Let's go report this to mother-in-law right now." We arrived at the Tsiyuan courtyard, and I told mother-in-law about taking Lin Manru as a concubine. Mother-in-law frowned and shook her head. "Who takes a concubine just a year after marriage?" "Shizhai, Au is your wife. You must consider her feelings." "Mother." "I agree," I said. Mother-in-law looked at me, then at Lin Manru whom Zhao Shizhai shielded behind him. Ultimately, at my urging, she consented. I fetched the calendar and reviewed it with mother-in-law, setting the concubinage ceremony for the 7th day of the 12th lunar month, just 5 days hence. Lin Manru felt she had finally achieved her goal and was overcome with excitement, while Zhao Shizhai remained only melancholy. I offered an excuse for him. "It seems my husband truly adores Manru. He's so overjoyed he's lost his bearings." Zhao Shizhai snapped back to reality, claiming official duties awaited him before retreating to his study. I suspected he intended to discuss their next steps with the woman he truly loved. So I deliberately assigned a task to Lin Manru. "Madam Lin, now that you've passed the formal rites, the study grows chilly. The duty of grinding ink and adding charcoal to the brazier shall fall to you henceforth." "Thank you, madam," Lin Manru replied, accepting the task and cheerfully following him out. Once everyone had left, my mother-in-law embraced my head and soothed me. "Child, you've endured so much today." Recalling the suffering I endured in my previous life, my eyes instantly reddened, choking back tears. I told my mother-in-law, "Mother, since I married him, I am his wife. Had I refused today, he would have longed for me day and night, and I would have had to yield eventually. By then, our marital bond would have grown thin. Better to yield now and earn his affection." "Good child," my mother-in-law said. "Shizhai is young and doesn't know how to cherish you. I will cherish you." She summoned the steward, retrieved the keys to the storeroom and the ledgers, and placed the household management in my hands. She then handed me several deeds to jewelry shops, declaring they would henceforth be my private property. She was compensating me on her son's behalf. I accepted the items, and my mother-in-law visibly relaxed. She said, "Oh, rest assured. I will admonish Shizhai and make him cherish your kindness." Returning from Xi'an courtyard to Zhuming courtyard, I had barely sat down when someone arrived, seemingly unable to wait. It was Su Xiangyao, the woman my husband, Zhao Shizhai, truly loved. Her mother was my mother-in-law's cousin. After becoming a widow, she remarried, taking Su Xiangyao with her. Her new husband disliked Su Xiangyao, so my mother-in-law took her in to raise herself. She and Zhao Shizhai had been childhood sweethearts, long promising each other their futures. Yet they knew that for Su Xiangyao, marrying Zhao Shizhai was as difficult as scaling the heavens. So they patiently waited until I married into the Marquis's household before beginning their plans. Seeing her, I recalled how foolishly I'd been manipulated by her in my previous life. "Sister-in-law," she pressed, "I heard you agreed to let my cousin take a concubine?" I pressed my left hand against my right, nodding with a smile. "Yes." Su Xiangyao grew flustered, blurting out, "That's impossible." I remained silent, fixing my gaze on her. She explained. Sister-in-law. I feel so unfair for you. She brought over a small stool, sat close beside me, and with an air of intimate familiarity, declared indignantly, Sister-in-law, you're a noble lady from a distinguished family. What is that Lin Manru? How dare she share a husband with you? Cousin really has no sense, having you yet not knowing how to cherish you. Bringing every woman under the sun into his bedchamber. These very words Su Xiaoyao had spoken to me in my previous life. My bitter feud with Lin Manru stemmed not only from her own despicable nature but also from Su Xiaoyao's relentless scheming. Now, watching her performance conclude, I smiled faintly before speaking softly, Xiaoyao. You are still unmarried. You cannot comprehend the hardships a woman faces as the matriarch of a household after marriage. Though Manru's family background couldn't compare to mine, her father sacrificed his life saving the old marquis. With her straightforward nature, it was only natural that Shizhai fell for her. Besides, Shizhai promised me that with Manru by his side, he'd never take another woman. So why should I risk family discord over a mere Lin Manru? Su Xiaoyao's breath quickened with fury at these words. The bitter resentment churning within her now became a frustration she couldn't voice. I didn't expose her. Instead, deliberately discussing how to arrange the concubine taking ceremony 5 days hence. After Su Xiaoyao found an excuse to leave, the smile faded from my face. Maid Jinin's eyes reddened as she protested. Madam, the young master is being so cruel. Cousin Mrs. Wright, we should return to the Duke's residence and report this to father and mother. And then? I asked her. She replied matter-of-factly. Naturally. Father would reprimand the young master and make him apologize to you. Madam. But an apology is worthless, it can't be eaten or worn. What good would it do me? I replied. I've already married into the Yan'an Marquis's household. Even if Zhao Shizhai took 100 concubines, my parents would never allow me to divorce and return to be a young lady of the Duke's mansion again. They love me as their daughter, but they cherish the Duke's mansion's reputation even more. If one day I brought disgrace upon myself and tarnished the Duke's mansion, my parents would abandon me without a second thought. Jin Xin's expression shifted several times. Having grown up by my side in the Duke's mansion, she knew my words held no exaggeration. Madam, what will you do then? Rest assured. As long as I walk the right path, the Duke's household will always be my foundation. The Marquis of Annan's residence will also become my home. Sooner or later. I touched my belly and spoke with unwavering certainty. By the passage of time, the child I never got to meet in my previous life was now taking root and growing within me. I devoted myself wholeheartedly to preparing this concubine-taking ceremony for my husband. Lin Manru had no family. I personally took her to the finest shops to select cosmetics and jewelry, then commissioned Xinjing's best tailor to measure and craft garments for her. I planned for her to reside in Hanglin Courtyard, the closest to Zhao Shizhai's study. I selected antique vases from the storeroom to decorate it, bought plants from the flower and bird market, and urged the servants to plant them quickly. The Jiangnan trading house delivered Taihu stones and Shoshan stones as New Year gifts. I had them all moved to Hanglin Courtyard to build rockeries. The elders of the household advised me it was unnecessary to bestow such favor upon a mere concubine. I sighed and replied, I am not honoring the concubine, I am honoring my husband. For she is now the apple of his eye. Lin Manru, already possessing an arrogant and haughty nature, grew even more presumptuous under my praise. Whoever displeased her in the household, whether a houseborn servant or a steward, would be subjected to her tirades. When servants came to me complaining, I always told them to endure it. Thus, over time, everyone in the household came to know that Lin Manru was the Marquis's favorite. Even I, the legitimate wife and mistress of the house, had to avoid her sharp edges. Soon, the 7th day of the 12th lunar month arrived. Early that morning, I summoned Lin Manru to my chambers and presented her with a brocade box. Inside lay the Kunling pills bestowed upon me by the imperial court on my wedding day. I explained that the court had granted 2 pills. And today, as she formally became the concubine of the scholar's retreat, I bestowed one upon her. I hoped she would strive to bear children for the Marquis's household. Kunling pills were elixirs to aid conception, exclusive to the imperial court, each worth a fortune. Lin Manru accepted the pill with delight, not even thanking me, but boasting proudly, "The Marquis holds me in such high regard. I'm certain I'll soon bear him an heir." After she left, Jinxin sneered with disgust. "How arrogant! She's merely a concubine, yet dares to address you so familiarly. You and I. Why must you elevate her, madam? Even giving her a Kunling pill. It's something I have no use for anyway. Given. So be it." I stroked my belly and smiled. Even a dog needs meat bones to feed. In my past life, Lin Manru didn't die by my hand, but the child in my womb was indeed lost when she and I shoved each other. Therefore, using her now brings me no qualms. I feared Zhao Shizhai might refuse to touch Lin Manru today because of Su Xiangyao, so I ordered the servants to replace all the wine in Hanglin Courtyard with Peach Blossom Drunk. Peach Blossom Drunk has a lingering taste but packs a powerful punch. Knowing Lin Manru, as long as Zhao Shizhai doesn't leave Hanglin Courtyard tonight, she'll make that Kunling pill take effect. Sure enough, the next morning when Lin Manru came to present tea, her cheeks were flushed crimson, though dark circles and exhaustion lingered beneath her eyes. Her spirit was radiant. I inquired with the servants. Hot water wasn't requested at Hanglin Courtyard until dawn. My love for Zhao Shizhai died the moment he died. Learning he'd spent the night with Lin Manru didn't sadden me, it felt satisfying. I drank the tea Lin Manru offered and took her to meet my mother-in-law. At Xian Courtyard, Su Xiangyao stood behind my mother-in-law, massaging her shoulders. When she saw Lin Manru and me enter one after the other, a flash of jealous hatred flickered in her eyes. After the mother-in-law offered seats, Lin Manru sat down beside me. "Concubine Lin, did I tell you to sit?" Su Xiangyao scolded Lin Manru with a stern face. "You are a secondary wife, only half a master. You should stand beside the main wife, serving tea and water." Her tone dripped with venom. "Concubine Lin, please recognize your place." She appeared to be defending me, but in truth, she was venting her own frustration. I smiled at my mother-in-law and said, "Mother, Concubine Lin worked hard last night. I have plenty of attendants to serve me. Let her sit. When Shizhai returns from court later, he'll surely feel sorry for her." My mother-in-law sighed. "Ah Wu, you child, you're far too kind-hearted." Yet she ultimately acquiesced to letting Lin Manru sit. Even though Su Xiangyao tried to hide it, I deliberately looked and saw the hatred for Lin Manru clearly reflected in her eyes. After this minor skirmish this morning, Su Xiangyao and Lin Manru began to clash openly. Su Xiangyao, under the guise of defending me, began to torment Lin Manru. But Lin Manru wasn't one to be pushed around. She channeled all the energy she'd used to fight me in my past life into confronting Su Xiangyao. As for me, I tried to reason with Su Xiangyao. "Auntie Lin is your cousin's beloved. You shouldn't keep provoking her, lest her cousin take offense." Simultaneously, she sent a steady stream of delicacies, entertainment, clothing, and jewelry to Hanglin Courtyard, instructing messengers to convey, "The mistress is virtuous and not prone to jealousy. Your cousin, unmarried and inexperienced, has misjudged her by projecting her own insecurities onto you. The mistress has already counseled her cousin, hoping you might put the past behind you." After that, conflicts between the two grew more frequent, erupting into 1 or 2 quarrels daily, big or small. One was the woman Zhao Shizhai publicly favored most, the other was the one truly in his heart. When they clashed, Zhao Shizhai found himself caught between 2 fires. With year-end approaching and the Ministry of Revenue swamped with work, he constantly used official duties as an excuse, holing up at the ministry and refusing to return home. Whether he came home or not was none of my concern. I used this opportunity to meet with every steward, large and small, employing both kindness and authority. By the end of winter, I had the home mansion running like clockwork. I didn't rush to replace key positions with my own people, the time wasn't right yet. When Midlaxi month arrived and I discussed New Year gifts for each household with my mother-in-law, I couldn't help but polish off a whole plate of pickled plums. Aw woo. Don't your teeth ache? Mother-in-law paused mid-sentence, her gaze fixed on me. Not at all, I replied, lowering my head in embarrassment. I've been a bit greedy lately. Mother-in-law, experienced in such matters, suppressed her overwhelming joy and sent servants to fetch a physician. The doctor arrived swiftly. His fingers touched my wrist, and he diagnosed my pregnancy, already 3 months along. My mother-in-law was overjoyed, her excitement making her speechless. Good woo. Good. 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 You silly child. You've been pregnant this long and didn't even notice. Quickly send someone to fetch the Marquis back, he's going to be a father. I smiled, lips pressed together, then noticed Su Xiangyao standing beside my mother-in-law, watching me with a forced, insincere smile. Wait. I called to the servants. Hold off on fetching the Marquis for now. Turning to my mother-in-law, I added, first, have the physician take Lady Lin's pulse as well. Very well, she replied indifferently. Have him take hers too. The physician's fingers settled on Lin Manru's wrist as she gazed at him expectantly. Congratulations, Madam Dowager. Congratulations, Madam. Lady Lin is also expecting. She is already over a month along, the physician announced with a congratulatory smile. Overjoyed, I instructed the servants to fetch a reward for the physician. Lin Manru, beaming, stroked her belly and said, when the Marquis hears this, he'll be over the moon. My mother-in-law urgently ordered the servants, hurry to the Ministry of Revenue and report the good news to the Marquis. I smiled while discreetly observing Su Xiangyao. Her face was deathly pale, her eyes wild, a tangled mix of sorrow and hatred. Zhao Shizhai returned, nearly stumbling as he entered. The matriarch teased him. You're about to become a father, yet still so clumsy. His gaze fell on Lin Manru and me, the gentle smile in his eyes unusually genuine. In my past life, after learning of my pregnancy, he too had briefly shown genuine affection toward me. Yet that fleeting sincerity soon dissolved into jealousy over Lin Manru. On Flower Festival Day, she deliberately provoked a quarrel with me, shoving and pushing until I lost the child. But in this life, Lin Manru is also carrying a child. The most troublesome thing will be her belly. Let her and Su Xiangyao fight it out. I only need to protect my own belly. Oh, if there's anything you desire, just ask. I'll have Shizhai procure it for you. My mother-in-law likely intended to save face for me, the legitimate wife, by mentioning this deliberately. There's nothing special I want. I've just been feeling rather tired these past few days. I said apologetically, Mother, with year-end duties piling up, I fear I lack the energy to manage household affairs. Perhaps we should temporarily hand the token of authority to cousin Xiaonyao to oversee matters in my stead. Mother-in-law tapped her forehead. How thoughtless of me. It was my oversight. You're newly pregnant and should rest. Xianyao shall handle the household affairs until after the new year. When things settle down, then it will be returned to you. Why give it to the cousin? Lin Manru protested. She's an unmarried girl, how can she manage the Marquis's household? If the mistress is weary, this servant is perfectly capable. Her reasoning was clear, Su Xiangyao was her rival. If Su managed the household, her own troubles would begin. Therefore, she absolutely refused to see the stewardship fall into Su Xiangyao's hands. But her mother-in-law cut her off, snorting coldly, "If not the cousin, then who should manage? Concubine Lin, remember you're carrying a child. Your usual squabbles are one thing, but if you harm Shizai's offspring, you'll have to answer for it." Though outwardly reprimanding Lin Manru, her words also carried a warning for Su Xiaonyao. Lin Manru was merely a concubine, her opinion held no weight. The matter of managing the household was thus settled. Rest assured, aunt and sister-in-law, I will manage my cousin's household well. If I encounter anything I don't understand, I will seek your guidance, Su Xiaonyao said. Originally, when Lin Manru and I were both found to be pregnant, Su Xiaonyao looked as if the sky had fallen. Now that I've temporarily handed over the housekeeping duties to her, she's become full of ambition again. She probably thinks this is her chance. After obtaining the official token, the first thing Su Xiaonyao did was take advantage of the year-end chaos to plant her own people in various courtyards. My bamboo tea courtyard was no exception. A maid named Chuyue was assigned to sweep the courtyard grounds. I warned Jinxin to keep a close eye on her, preventing her from entering the inner chambers and ensuring she had no access to my food or pregnancy tonics. Jinxin was a steady soul. After my warning, she personally handled everything that entered my mouth. Zhao Shizai, likely driven to distraction by Su Xiaonyao and Lin Manru's antics, began frequenting my courtyard more often. He brought a book, claiming he'd read it aloud for the child in my womb. If he wanted to read, I let him read. After all, it wasn't me who'd be left parched and hoarse. Su Xiaonyao visited my courtyard several times under the pretense of delivering tonics. Seeing Zhao Shizai standing several meters away from me, not fawning over me, she felt reassured and turned her full attention to her own affairs. I had Jinxin store all those tonics neatly on the 8 treasure shelf, not touching a single one. Before long, New Year's Eve arrived. The palace held a banquet, and Zhao Shizai left early in the morning. As the marquise's wife, I should have attended as well. However, I'd been experiencing morning sickness these past few days, coupled with the numerous protocols of the palace banquet. My mother-in-law feared it would be too taxing on my condition. She had Zhao Shizai request an exemption on my behalf. After Zhao Shizai left, Jinxin pulled me into the inner chamber and whispered, "Miss, I saw Aunt Zhou from the kitchen speaking with Qiuyu from our courtyard." Auntie Zhou from the kitchen was originally Su Xiaonyao's wet nurse. After Su Xiaonyao obtained her matching token, she took the opportunity to place her in the kitchen. Upon hearing this, I understood immediately Su Xiaonyao was about to make her move. I told Jinxin, "Tonight at the family banquet, do not leave the old lady's sight. Miss, you're suffering so badly from morning sickness. Will you be able to endure it?" Jinxin asked worriedly. I shook my head. "I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about you. You must not leave the old lady's sight." Jinxin was puzzled, but she nodded in agreement. She always obeyed my instructions. Sure enough, during the evening banquet, a maid came looking for Jinxin, saying something had happened at Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard and she was needed to make a decision. With my instructions in mind, Jinxin naturally refused to go. She declared before my mother-in-law, what trouble could possibly arise in Bamboo Grove? It's likely just the maids quarreling over cards and wine. On New Year's Eve, I see no need to restrain them. With my mistress suffering such severe morning sickness, how could I let her out of my sight? Whatever matters you have, come back tomorrow to discuss them with me. Hearing this, my mother-in-law couldn't help but smile. She turned to me and said, "Oh, this maid of yours is quite capable. She knows how to prioritize." I seized the moment. "Jinxin, did you hear that? Prioritize your duties. Your sole task tonight is to look after me." Thus, even if the most urgent matter arose, that maid couldn't call Jinxin away. She stood frozen for a long moment until the matriarch shot her a suspicious glance. Snapping her back to reality, she hurried off. Today, I was in high spirits, sitting beside my mother-in-law to watch the festivities, refusing to return to my quarters. I told her, my son likely wishes to keep New Year's Eve vigil with his grandmother, waiting for her New Year's red envelope, which is why he won't let me leave. Amused. My mother-in-law had a soft couch and a brazier brought in, telling me to rest my weary legs and take a short nap if I grew tired. As midnight approached, mother-in-law instructed Su Xiaoyao to direct the steward to set off firecrackers at the Marquis' mansion gate. The midnight bell tolled, and the firecrackers at the mansion gate erupted in a deafening roar. Lin Manru's personal maid came running toward the Xian courtyard, sobbing and wailing, "Blood! Blood!" The maidservants, about to scold her for breaking protocol, suddenly recognized the meaning in her words when they saw the lantern light reflecting on her flushed cheeks. They all abruptly turned to look at the matriarch and me. "What's happening?" Mother-in-law sprang to her feet. Lin Manru's maid explained, "Half an hour ago, our mistress complained of stomach discomfort and needed to use the lavatory. She went 2 or 3 times, and we thought it was indigestion. But just now, we discovered she's bleeding. Quickly summon a physician." I yawned as I headed toward Hanglin Courtyard. Seeing this, my mother-in-law grabbed my arm and instructed her attendant, Auntie Li, and my maid, Jinxin, escort the mistress back to Zhuming Courtyard to rest. Do not let her exert herself. Her tone turned serious as she addressed me. You are still carrying a child. You absolutely must not overexert yourself. Concubine Lin is merely a secondary wife. Her bleeding is her concern. Your pregnancy must not be jeopardized. I'll send Xiaoyao to Hanglin Courtyard. Yes, mother, I replied obediently. Then, yawning all the way, I returned to Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard to sleep, escorted by Jinxin and Auntie Li. The next morning, before I could even dress or wash, Jinxin stood beside my bed, gesturing excitedly. Madam, guess what? Concubine Lin had a miscarriage. She gritted her teeth. That little bitch Lin is truly despicable. She swore up and down that eating the hibiscus pastries sent from our courtyard caused her stomach trouble. When the Marquis returned and learned of this, he flew into a rage and demanded to come to Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard to confront you. I protested again and again, insisting I hadn't left Xian Courtyard last night. The old lady can vouch for me. I served by your side the entire time, never straying a step. Only then did the Marquis take Qiuyu, who delivered the hibiscus pastries, away for interrogation. Listening to her, I felt nothing but satisfaction. In my past life, Lin Manru caused me to lose my child. This time, the tables have turned. I wonder if her heart aches as bitterly as mine did then. Jinxin gazed at me earnestly and asked, Madam, do you think Chuyue will betray Cousin Miss? If the Marquis learns of Cousin Miss's true intentions, will he banish her from the Marquis's residence? She imagined it earnestly. Concubine Lin miscarried. The young lady was expelled from the Marquis's residence. With these two beauties gone from the Marquis's side, he'd surely devote himself wholly to the mistress from now on. How naive she was. Zhao Shizhai took Qiuyu away for interrogation, not to uncover the true culprit behind Concubine Lin's miscarriage, but to prevent Qiuyu from implicating Su Xiaoyao. He truly loved Su Xiaoyao so deeply that even after she killed his own child, he still cleaned up her mess. Seeing me lost in thought, Jinxin couldn't help but ask again, Madam, why did the young mistress insist on sending Qiuyu to deliver the hibiscus pastries to Hanglin Courtyard? Because she was greedy, I replied. In my past life, Su Xiaoyao's countless schemes against Lin Manru and me proved her to be a scheming, greedy woman. With every move she made, she aimed to devour 2 or 3 pieces at once. The child in Lin Manru's womb filled her with seething hatred. She'd long desired its demise. Unfortunately, After receiving the matching pair of cards, Lin Manru grew wary of her, denying Su Xiaonyao any opportunity to act. Last night, on New Year's Eve, the servants in the mansion were more relaxed, and Lin Manru would be too. Therefore, she resolved to take advantage of this opportunity to deal with Lin Manru's pregnancy. But she didn't want to just deal with Lin Manru's pregnancy, she also wanted to deal with me. She had already seized the housekeeping authority and didn't want to relinquish it. Therefore, she had to pin the blame for Lin Manru's miscarriage on me. As long as I made a mistake, she could continue to hold the position of chief steward. Yesterday, during the family banquet, Lin Manru claimed she was unwell and refused to attend. I had already instructed Auntie Li, who served my mother-in-law, to send a small portion of the banquet food to Hanglin Courtyard. Su Xiaonyao could only resort to the lotus root pastries hastily prepared in the kitchen. She sent a maid to seek Jinxin, falsely claiming an urgent matter at Zhuming Courtyard, all to pin the blame squarely on Jinxin. Throughout the entire Annan Marquis mansion, everyone knows Jinxin is my confidant. If Jinxin gets implicated, the blame will inevitably fall squarely on my shoulders. Logically, since Jinxin hadn't left with that maid, she shouldn't have continued implicating Zhuming Courtyard. But she was too greedy, afraid she'd never get such a golden opportunity again. So, gritting her teeth, she still used Chu Yue. That cousin's mind is far too scheming. Jinxin gasped. With the Marquis protecting her like this, are we truly powerless against her? Quickly help me change. We're going to Xiayan Courtyard, I said. Upon arriving at Xiayan Courtyard, Zhao Shizhai was already present. He was discussing the results of the interrogation and investigation with his mother-in-law. Qiu Yu died by throwing herself against a pillar to prove her innocence. Before passing, she insisted the hibiscus pastry was harmless. I had the physician examine it, it was indeed ordinary hibiscus pastry. Manru likely suffered from indigestion, causing her repeated trips to the lavatory and ultimately the miscarriage. Her pregnancy was barely 2 months along, and the fetus was inherently unstable. This explanation absolved Su Xiaonyao completely. Even though I had anticipated this outcome, a wave of bitter sorrow still washed over me. Mother-in-law asked Zhao Shizhai coldly, "Is this true?" My son personally investigated it. Of course it's true, Zhao Shizhai replied without flinching. Mother-in-law sighed in disappointment but ultimately said nothing more. After Zhao Shizhai left, I told mother-in-law, "Mother, tomorrow is the 2nd day of the 1st lunar month. I should return to my parents' home. On the 2nd day of the 1st lunar month, it is the custom in our great Zhao kingdom for married women to return to their natal homes." My mother-in-law asked me in a conciliatory tone, "Oh, you are pregnant this year. It would be unwise for you to travel. Why not have Shizhai take generous gifts to the Duke's residence and inform our in-laws?" "Mother, precisely because I am pregnant, I must return to my family home." I looked at my mother-in-law, my expression tinged with sorrow. "Mother, Lady Lin lost her child. I must protect mine. No one's hand can reach into the Duke's residence." My mother-in-law frowned. Lady Lin failed to protect her own pregnancy. If she were truly human, she wouldn't hold such resentment against you. "Mother, you know I'm not speaking of Lady Lin." I cut her off. I refused to believe Zhao Shizhai and Su Xiaonyao could have fallen in love under Lady Zhao Zhang's very nose without her noticing the slightest hint. She didn't want to be the villain who tore her son from his beloved. Nor did she wish to lose a daughter-in-law of the Duke's legitimate lineage. So she kept it hidden all along. Sure enough, after I laid it bare, my mother-in-law's expression fell. She lamented. "Oh." Shizhai was momentarily blinded. "Besides, you are his lawful wife. Neither concubine Lin nor Su Xiaonyao can compare to you." I gave a hollow "oh." My mother-in-law pleaded, "Oh, you must forgive him. This is merely a youthful indiscretion." "Mother, I have no energy to dwell on these matters now. I only wish to carry this pregnancy through and bring my child into the world. He carries Shirjai's blood. And mine too. I stroked my swelling belly. Shirjai may not love me, but he will surely love our child. From my words. My mother-in-law saw I hadn't given up on Zhao Shirjai nor intended to move back to my natal home to demand justice. She instantly relaxed. She soothed me. And herself, yes. Once the child in your womb is born and Shirjai becomes a father, he'll settle down. She agreed that after Zhao Shirjai and I returned to my natal home tomorrow, I could stay at the Duke's residence for a while to rest and prepare for childbirth. Stepping out of the Xianan courtyard, my footsteps felt lighter. My birth family might not have cherished me like a precious treasure, but returning with the legitimate heir of the Anan Marquisate, they would surely care for me wholeheartedly. Both Jinxin and I could finally sleep soundly. After returning to the Zhuming courtyard, I had Jinxin summon Xia San. Xia San was my foster brother. After I married into the Anan Marquis's household, his entire family followed to serve there. I instructed him. The Marquis executed someone in the front courtyard. The body probably hasn't been disposed of yet. Go keep watch. See where they dump it in the mass grave. Make sure wild dogs don't get to it. Then find a way to lure Auntie Lin there. Let her see the sword wound on the corpse. Qiuyu was a pain-sensitive girl. I'm certain she wouldn't dare touch the pillar. Zhao Shirjai must have killed her. I'd already questioned the cleaning woman from the front courtyard. She personally saw Zhao Shirjai discard a blood-stained rag, likely used to wipe the blood from his sword after the murder. Xia San nodded and left. I then instructed Jinxin, find 2 loyal, gossipy maids to loiter outside Hanglin courtyard, chatting idly about how the Marquis originally intended to take cousin Miss as his concubine. He feared I would object, so he elevated concubine Lin instead. Little did he know I would consent. Concubine Lin snatched cousin Miss's opportunity. No wonder the two never got along. Su Xiangyao, under the guise of defending me, fought with Lin Manru like 2 fighting cocks. Yet I myself appeared to accept Lin Manru. Lin Manru must have harbored doubts long ago. After she lost her child, Zhao Shirjai visited Hanglin courtyard only once, to inform her of the interrogation results regarding Qiuyu. Once she heard the matron's words and saw Qiuyu's body, the truth would surely dawn on her. The affection she prided herself on receiving from the Marquis was nothing but an illusion. The child she carried meant nothing to Zhao Shirjai compared to Su Xiangyao. Ever since she was elevated to concubine, Lin Manru had been held on too high a pedestal. Having just lost her child, only to discover she was merely a stepping stone, she would go mad. A faint smile curved my lips. I was eager to see just how ruthless this life's Lin Manru could become. By evening, Xia San returned and whispered to me. Lin Manru's eyes were swollen from crying. Yet instead of confronting Zhao Shirjai, she had slipped to Zhenbazhai to buy an extremely sharp dagger, then visited the black market for a packet of poison. My heart swelled with anticipation. I'd longed for this day, the day the jackal and the vicious dog fought to the death, for far too long. The next day, the second day of the first lunar month, Zhao Shirjai accompanied me onto the carriage returning to the Duke's residence. He looked utterly exhausted. I pretended not to notice, stroking my belly as I feigned sleep. In my drowsy state, I felt someone touching my stomach. Realizing it was Zhao Shirjai, I instantly broke out in goosebumps. Only upon arriving at the Duke's residence and stepping down from the carriage did my taut nerves finally relax. After paying respects to my parents, I excused myself, citing fatigue, and retired to my chambers. Zhao Shirjai remained behind to play chess with my father. Come evening, Lady Li, the matron attending my mother-in-law, hurried to the Duke's residence. Upon seeing Zhao Shirjai and me, her expression turned frantic and her face drained of color. Your lordships, an incident has occurred at the estate. The old lady requests your immediate return, she announced. Thus, despite our plans to stay longer at the Duke's residence, We boarded a carriage that very day and returned to the Annan Marquis estate. Upon our arrival, we were met by my mother-in-law, her expression grim. Spotting me, she paused, then turned to reprimand Lady Li. I instructed you to recall the Marquis. Yet you brought back a Wu as well? If she is frightened, can you bear the responsibility? Maidli bowed her head in apology. My mother-in-law turned and ordered someone to escort me back to the Duke's residence. Having already returned, I naturally refused to leave so easily and insisted on following to see what had happened. With no other choice, she led us to the entrance of Hanglin Courtyard. Zhao Shizhai stepped inside, letting out a wail before retching repeatedly. I started to follow, but my mother-in-law grabbed my arm. You're pregnant. Don't let this frighten you, she said, her face pale and streaked with tears. Just know this, Xiangyao is dead. A thick, pungent scent of blood filled my nostrils. Your Excellency. Look! I avenged our child, came Lin Manru's deranged voice from the courtyard. It was this woman. This very woman killed our child. Now she's dead. Our child's vengeance is served. Won't you praise me? You lunatic! Zhao Shizhai shouted, retching violently. I found myself curious. What exactly had Lin Manru done? Your lordship, she asked softly. Tell me, I am the one you love most now, aren't I? It dawned on me then, Lin Manru had truly lost her mind. In my previous life, when I was locked away in the estate, I too went mad for a time. At night, I dreamed of Zhao Shizhai coming to make peace with me. By day, I saw hallucinations of him coming to kill me. At first, I longed for sleep, for then I could see the Zhao Shizhai who loved me. But gradually, I dreaded sleep, finding the part of me that craved it utterly repulsive. He had schemed to bring the legitimate daughter of a duke's mansion to this wretched end. Yet I yearned for his love. Wasn't that laughable? Once I grasped this, I felt my madness had lifted. But the old women guarding me insisted I was growing crazier by the day. Lin Manru had lost her mind, so she hoped Zhao Shizhai, now bereft of Su Xiangyao, would love her. We stood there a while longer before the wind picked up. My mother-in-law and I turned back to rest in the Ziyuan courtyard. Early the next morning, the snow and wind ceased. Winter sunlight spilled across the window panes and snow, lifting one's spirits at a glance. Jinxin quietly informed me that the magistrate of the capital had sent men to the home mansion to haul away 2 female corpses. Jinxin explained that the Marquis had told the officers, concubine Lin and the young lady had long been at odds. After concubine Lin suffered a miscarriage, she went mad, suspecting the young lady had killed her child. While the Marquis accompanied the main wife to her family home and the old lady was at the temple. Concubine Lin first poisoned the young lady, then mutilated the corpse with a dagger. Later, she came to her senses and took her own life to atone. But when we returned yesterday, Lady Lin was clearly alive and didn't sound like someone contemplating death. Jinxin said doubtfully. I chuckled softly. With Lin Manru's temperament, suicide was never an option. Yet with deaths occurring in the manner, the magistrate of the capital will inevitably send investigators. Once the officials interrogate her and she reveals the truth, the scandal of the Annan Marquis favoring his concubine over his wife and the fire in the inner quarters will be impossible to conceal. Su Xiangyao, unmarried yet entangled with the Marquis, even plotting against his offspring, even in death. She'll be condemned for generations. That's why Zhao Shizhai killed Lin Manru. With her dead, Zhao Shizhai could spin the story however he pleased. Madam, the Marquis is kneeling in the courtyard now, Jinxin reported. I hummed in acknowledgement, dressing to pay my respects to my mother-in-law. Her face was grim. The room smelled of medicine. Nanny Li told me her old ailment had flared up. I approached her bedside. She took my hand and spoke of the events at Hanglin Courtyard. Who could have imagined concubine Lin would lose her mind like this? Thankfully, Wu, you returned to the Duke's residence yesterday and weren't harmed. Mother sighed. The white hair at her temples had multiplied in just a few short days. She seemed to have aged several years. After this ordeal, Shirjai should be wary of those fox-like women, and you too can finally live peacefully. Such is the nature of motherhood, others bear the blame, while one's own son, even if he errs, deserves his daughter-in-law's forgiveness. I sighed. Mother, please let my husband return to rest. In this bitter cold, after days of toil, if he continues kneeling, his body may not endure it. A flicker of joy passed through my mother-in-law's eyes, but she still shook her head. He made his own mistake. Let him kneel. I coaxed my mother-in-law to take her medicine and rest, then wrapped myself in a cloak and went out to the courtyard. Zhao Shizhai wore little, his palms already blue and black with frostbite, yet his spine remained rigidly straight. If one didn't know his deeds, anyone in Xinjiang who mentioned Zhao Shizhai would only praise him, gifted in both talent and looks. A rare fine man. But I knew he was utterly rotten. I carried a hand warmer over, crouched down with effort, placed it in his lap, and said, I pleaded with Mother for you, but she's too angry to let you rise. All I can do is bring this, at least it offers some warmth. Zhao Shizhai's dead fish eyes finally flickered with life. He looked at me as if I were a lifeline, his voice breaking as he called my name. Oh, you're not angry with me? My eyes held no trace of amusement, though my lips curved upward in a habitual smile. You're my husband, I said. No matter how angry I am, I can't just abandon you. Zhao Shizhai seized my hand, his repentance sincere. Oh, I was wrong before. I was blind and foolish, unable to see the venom in other women's hearts. Only my Ao is kind. From now on, you alone will occupy my heart. No one else. Yesterday, I was curious. How exactly did Lin Manru torment the corpse to terrify him so? But he cut me off, pleading, Ao, can we just let the past be the past? Fine, I said. You're my husband, and I do love you. Zhao Shizhai brightened. He likely hadn't expected that after being humiliated and frightened by two women, his lawful wife would prove so virtuous, willingly taking the fall for him. Oh, it's bitterly cold outside. Go back inside and warm yourself by the fire. Don't catch a chill. Zhao Shizhai showed me an unprecedented level of concern. Once we returned to the bamboo tea courtyard, Jin Xin exclaimed excitedly, Madam, I could tell the young master was sincere. He truly seems remorseful. You've finally endured the worst. Had I not been confined to this estate for 30 years, I might have thought the same. But now, Zhao Shizhai's remorse brings me no joy, only disgust. I had Jinxin fetch hot water and washed my hands repeatedly with fragrant soap. Jinxin dried my hands with a silk handkerchief, her voice soft and soothing. Madam, Lady Lin and the young mistress are both dead. The child in Lady Lin's womb is gone too. Even if Master Zhao falls for another woman, his affection will never surpass yours. Once the child in your womb inherits the title, you'll become the dowager consort. Then everything will be perfect. But Zhao Shizhai is in excellent health. He'll likely live another few decades. Does that mean I must endure decades more? No, I cannot. Having been granted a second life, why must I live in restraint? Enduring so long? Snow began falling outside the window once more. I sprang to my feet, changed my clothes, and instructed Jinxin to fetch a box of eucalyptus bark and a jar of donkey hide gelatin wine from the treasure cabinet. Then I took her to the kitchen. When Xie-san reported Lin Manru's whereabouts to me the day before yesterday, he also gave me a packet of the poison she had purchased. I poured the entire contents into this jar of donkey hide gelatin wine. I instructed the cook, first, boil the eucalyptus bark down to 1 bowl from 3. Then pour it into the jar of wine, warm it over the stove, and prepare some warming dishes. Serve them when the marquis arrives. This is the method for making warming, cold dispelling wine. The cook immediately took over and got to work. Leaving the kitchen, Jinshin said to me, "It's good that you've come to terms with it, madam." Yet her brows furrowed as she spoke. I asked her, "Am I making you unhappy by coming to terms with it?" "I should be happy," Jinshin replied. She looked at me, her eyes a little lost. "But for some reason, I feel a bit sad for you, madam." Her eyes blinked, and the corners grew damp. She was a good girl, without memories of my past life. She knew nothing of the suffering I'd endured. Yet she instinctively felt wronged on my behalf. "It's all right. Let's go to the Tsiyuan." I patted her shoulder and said. By the time we reached the Tsiyuan, the snow had grown heavier. A layer of white had already settled on Zhao Shizhai's head and shoulders. I stepped forward to wipe it off with my hand, but he pulled away. "Leave me be," he said. "If you catch a chill because of me, I'll feel terribly guilty." He'd used that same tone to flirt with Su Xiangyao, the same tone to deceive Lin Manru. Now, he used that same tone with me. "Just hold on a little longer," I told him. "I'll go plead with mother." Then I stepped into the inner chamber. Inside, my mother-in-law wasn't lying in bed. She stood by the window, staring blankly at the snowflakes drifting outside. She was clearly worried about Zhao Shizhai. Yet she deliberately put on this show for me. She wanted me to feel heartbroken for him. If I felt that pain, I wouldn't dwell on his past absurdities. I drew a deep breath, knelt before her, and pleaded, "Mother, Shizhai will fall ill if he kneels any longer. I'm worried for him." She hurriedly helped me up, saying, "That ungrateful son, is he truly worth your concern?" Then she urgently instructed Auntie Li, "Go tell the Marquis his wife has pleaded for him. He needn't kneel any longer." I was even more anxious than she was. Rising, I followed maidservant Li out the door. As soon as maidservant Li told Zhao Shizhai to rise, I immediately urged him with concern, "Husband, hurry back and change your clothes. The kitchen has prepared warm Ukamiya wine to dispel the cold, along with warming side dishes to accompany it. You've been busy all night, eat well. Then lie down and get some warm, restful sleep." The sound of my mother-in-law coughing drifted from the room. I said, "Go ahead. I'll stay with mother." Zhao Shizhai gripped my hand, deeply moved, and said from the heart, "Oh, you're so kind. You're the best woman in the world to me." I, Zhao Shizhai, swear that from this day forward, you alone will dwell in my heart. I gently pried his hand away. "Go now." Zhao Shizhai chuckled. "Silly Awu. Do you think your husband can't handle a little cold?" I feigned coyness and replied, "That Ukamiya bark is quite aged, and the donkey hide gelatin wine is a rare treasure. If I weren't worried you'd catch a chill, I'd never have brought it to the kitchen to brew." "Oh, I know your heart for me." His eyes softened as he said, "You treat me so well, I'll never let you down." He pushed me into the inner chamber, kowtowed to his mother, then hurried out of Xian courtyard. His mother smiled at me. "See? Men are just like children. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as they mend their ways. Awu, your perseverance has finally paid off. The best blessings are yet to come." She must have been pleased with my virtue, for she brought out a set of heirloom jewels passed down from her own mother and gave them to me. She said, "Yesterday, Auntie Li sent urgent word. Your mother-in-law was worried sick about you, sending messengers several times to ask what happened. I sent someone to the Duke's residence to explain. Now that everything is settled, if you wish to see your mother-in-law, I'll have Shizhai accompany you back to the Duke's residence for a few more days. I'll go to the Hugu temple to invite a monk to perform a ritual at home to dispel the bad luck." "Very well," I replied. I will also conceal these recent events from my parents, sparing them any distress over my husband. Hearing this, my mother-in-law's joy deepened. She grasped my hand excitedly, sharing heartfelt confidences. About half an hour later, a servant rushed in with urgent news. The Marquis had coughed up blood. My mother-in-law, who had been chatting and laughing moments before, froze stiff as a chicken with its throat squeezed. I pinched my thigh hard. Then, supported by Jinshin, ran crying and screaming toward the exit. Only then did my mother-in-law snap back to her senses and rush out after me. Zhao Shizhai had been fine while eating and drinking, but after retiring to his inner chambers, the poison began to take effect. The servants, fearful that their movements might disturb his rest, kept far from the inner chambers and thus did not hear Zhao Shizhai's moans. He struggled within the inner chambers for a quarter of an hour, crawling to the window and smashing it open. Only then did the servants discover he was spitting blood. But by then, his exhalations were longer than his inhalations. By the time my mother-in-law and I arrived, he was already dead. My son! Who poisoned you? My mother-in-law's world seemed to collapse. A wail erupted as she threw herself forward. In my heart, I felt only relief. Zhao Shizhai was dead. I wouldn't have to endure decades more. In his youth, my father-in-law had fallen into an icy lake, damaging his health. Procreation proved difficult, leaving Zhao Shizhai as his sole heir. Now that he was gone, the child growing within me was the sole hope of the Annan Marquis household. Within the Annan Marquis residence, no one could threaten me anymore. From this day forward, the Marquis estate would truly become my home. My eyes rolled back, and I fainted peacefully into Jinshin's arms. Jinshin shouted for help, and together they carried me back to the bamboo tea courtyard. Before long, I heard my mother-in-law arrive with the kitchen maid, interrogating Jinshin and demanding to know where the Ukamiya bargain donkey hide gelatin wine taken to the kitchen had come from. Jinshin, sobbing, pointed to the treasure cabinet and told my grief-stricken mother-in-law that the items had been sent earlier by the cousin miss. They had been carefully stored in the cabinet. Who could have imagined they were poisoned? Soon after, my father-in-law arrived. He brought the coroner. Zhao Shizhai was a marquis. The poisoning death of a marquis was a major incident. News reached the emperor swiftly, who dispatched the commander overseeing the capital's security to investigate. Soon, they uncovered the truth. The poisoned jar of donkey hide gelatin wine had been delivered to bamboo tea courtyard by the young lady from the mansion. The toxin matched the poison used by concubine Lin to kill the young lady just 2 days prior. Thus, they concluded the murderer must be either concubine Lin or the young lady, Su Xiangyao. No. Impossible. My mother-in-law wailed and wailed. Both concubine Lin and Xiangyao loved Shizhai. How could they possibly poison him? The commander said to my in-laws, "Old Marquis, old lady, the murderer likely intended to poison your wife. As the legitimate wife, and being pregnant, their jealousy and hatred drove them to poison her. The motive is crystal clear. So my son took the poison meant for Awu?" My mother-in-law's voice was frantic. The captain sneered coldly, "Madam, have you lost your mind? If the young marquis hadn't favored his concubine over his wife, allowing these two women to scheme and compete, how could they ever dare to poison the legitimate mistress of this household?" My mother-in-law fell silent. The grandfather scolded her, "Your nonsense now is one thing, but when Awu awakens, you must not utter such madness." The grandmother-in-law couldn't believe it. "You call my words madness? If Awu hadn't given that wine to Shizhai to drink, how could Shizhai have lost his life?" "Jiangsu." The father-in-law cut her off sharply, reminding her, "Don't forget, Awu is carrying Shizhai's only child. This marriage was Shizhai's wrongdoing to her. She is the legitimate daughter of the duke's household, not some maid you can mold and reshape at will. You should be grateful Awu didn't share that wine with Shizhai." The eunuch's voice rang out with authority. After a long moment, The mother-in-law wept despondently. Had I known this day would come, I should never have brought Xiaonyao back to the mansion. The military commander offered a few cool words of consolation before returning to the palace with the results to report. When I slowly regained consciousness, the mother-in-law cautiously urged me not to grieve too deeply, fearful I might detect her reproach. I became the youngest widow among the noble ladies of Xinjing City. Claiming that my grief had endangered my pregnancy, I remained in Bamboo Tea Courtyard to rest. My mother-in-law had removed everything from the 8 treasure shelf. The Marquis's residence was busy preparing Zhao Shizhai's funeral. Though I was his wife, being 4 months pregnant, no one dared to trouble me with work at this time. Thus, my Bamboo Tea Courtyard became the most tranquil place in the entire Marquis's residence. Jinxin told me that the affairs of the household had spread outside. Now, people were mocking Zhao Shizhai, saying he had disrespected his wife. Not only did he favor his concubine over his wife, but he also had an improper relationship with his cousin. As a result, his concubine and cousin fought over him, leading to a deadly brawl that claimed 3 lives. They said it was all retribution. They also said that Xiao Wu, the legitimate daughter of the duke's household, was a virtuous woman. It was a pity she hadn't married a good husband. Fortunately, heaven had spared her life. Though she would now be a widow, she had borne a posthumous child, so her future still held hope. Jinxin continued, after hearing these rumors. The old lady wept bitterly. She confided in Nanny Li that once the Marquis's funeral rites were completed, she would hand over the Marquis's household to the young mistress to manage. She felt she had no face left to mingle with the noble ladies of Xinjing. I stroked my belly and nodded. This meant my home and my child's future would now be under my control. She stood behind my husband, young and beautiful in her fashionable floral-patterned qipao. Her gaze toward me appeared respectful, but the upturned corners of her mouth betrayed her petty triumph. On the 16th day of the first lunar month, Zhao Shizhai was formally laid to rest. An attendant from the emperor's court delivered an imperial edict, praising my virtue and bestowing numerous gifts. It concluded by conferring upon me the title of Lady Anan. This meant my rank now surpassed that of my mother-in-law. Except for the empress, princesses, and princes consorts within the palace, I was the most honored woman in all of Xinjiang. After Zhao Shizhai's burial, my mother, the duchess, came to see me. She said to me, "My dear Awu, you've endured so much injustice. Why didn't you send word to your family sooner?" When your father and I learned of Zhao Shizhai's actions, we immediately sent your brother to the palace to plead your case before His Majesty. Fortunately, Commander Chen was also present to speak on your behalf, which secured this imperial edict supporting you. With this edict and the Duke's household behind you, you can walk tall in the Anan Marquis's residence from now on. I am a widow, but from this day forward, I am the most honored widow in the capital city of Xinjiang. Every year during the memorial rites, I personally wrote Zhao Shizhai's birth date and time on paper, burning it along with incense, candles, and paper offerings. I no longer recall whether Zhao Shizhai's birthday fell on the 8th or 9th day of the 5th lunar month, so I always write the 7th. My days pass in ease and contentment. Only on the day I write his birth date do I remember the hatred I hold for him. 20 years later, my son came of age. My father-in-law and my father jointly petitioned the court for him to inherit the title. My son became the new young Marquis of the Anan Marquisate. I entrusted him with the task of writing the birth date for the annual memorial rites. He too wrote the 7th day of the 5th month. 50 years later, I was old. One day, I suddenly dreamt of Zhao Shizhai. In the dream, Zhao Shizhai murmured to me, "Ah Wu. Ask the servants in charge of offerings, are they paying lip service to you? Otherwise, how come I've received nothing all these years in the afterlife?" I replied, "All right. I'll inquire for you." He said, touched, "I knew you were the kindest to me. Ah Wu. The day after waking from that dream was once again Zhao Shizhai's Memorial Day. My grandson brought me a piece of paper with my grandfather's birth date and time written on it. Grandma. Father asked me to write down grandfather's birth date and time. Please check if your grandson got it right. Seeing the 7th day of the 5th month written there, I nodded, that's correct. The end.